Welcome once again, everyone. Thanks for joining us on today's webinar. We're going to be discussing the topic of navigating the zero trust journey for today's everywhere workplace. I'm Jay Bansali, a member of the product marketing team here at Ivanti, and I'm joined today by Toshin, who's a part of our technical marketing team. Welcome, Toshin.
Hey, thanks, Jay.
Do you want to quickly give us a little bit of your background?
Sure. Hey guys, Toshin here. I'm a member of the Ivanti technical marketing team. Like Jay said, my focus has been on Apple products and the zero sign-on products. Many of you may have interacted with me while deploying your shared iPads or shared Android devices or deploying the passwordless technology that we have provided. Overall, I have over 10 years of industry experience in different fields: mobile device management, security, and networking. I've worked with companies like Cisco. In fact, I hold a CCIE certification. And overall, I'm very excited to see the new innovations that we are making internally and bringing some of those through these webinars to you. So very excited to be here, and really thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Toshin. Thanks again for joining us today. And I'm Jay Bansali. Much like Toshin, I've worked at a wide variety of organizations, including Cisco and Mobile Iron. And over the last decade or so, my focus has primarily been on unified endpoint management solutions. And I'm really excited to see the journey that the market has taken from where we started off in the MDM space and eventually over time evolved to UEM. And to where we are today, where UEM is a foundational block of enterprises' zero trust security frameworks. And I think this is really critical and goes back to the idea of how device management and security go hand in hand. And we'll talk a lot more about it during the session today. So thanks again for joining us. So with that, we'll talk very briefly about just the notion of the everywhere workplace, how Ivanti sees it, and the expectations that have changed as a result of the everywhere workplace, certain trends that are fueling it. And then we'll talk about the idea of how do you apply zero trust how do you think about zero trust security as it applies to the everywhere workplace. I'll then very briefly touch upon a few Ivanti solutions at a very high level. And then Toshin will walk us through a few use cases and demos to show us how the Ivanti products, in action can help apply zero trust policies at scale. Now, a couple of items on logistics. The slides will be made available. The webinar will also be recorded and made available after the session. And if you have any questions at all, please put them in the Q&A window. We will continue to answer them either through the chat box or live towards the end of the session. So the everywhere workplace. Now, it's funny because the workplace has now, traditionally and historically, the workplace was essentially restricted to office buildings. People went into the office, sat at desktops that were connected to the wired infrastructure. And that essentially was, for most parts, the workplace that employees were used to, right? They were sitting at a terminal and had a very fixed spot. The workplace today is everywhere but the office. And especially with the events of the last year, what we've seen is what was just initially a trend where people like to work remotely is essentially become a disaster recovery and business continuity mandate for a lot of organizations, where now we have the ability to, be it taking meetings on the go to managing our personal lives and tracking everything on these little computers that we have that literally fit in our pockets and can go with us anywhere, right? So along with the benefits that it has brought to our personal lives, mobile devices have completely changed the way we work. And along with that migration of the workplace from being behind closed doors to pretty much going everywhere, there's been a lot of changes that IT has had to deal with to support the everywhere workplace. There is additional types of devices that they need to support. It's no longer just a desktop or a laptop that they need to be concerned about managing. the number of platforms has gone from primarily being Windows to having iOS devices, Android devices, Chrome OS devices, Mac OS devices. There's a variety of different platforms that organizations need to plan for managing, securing, locking down, and so on. And along with those platforms, there's a variety of additional applications that customers need to be maintaining, mandating, managing, securing, and employees are connecting from even more networks than ever before. And along with it, there's a variety of different services. And this could be a range of services, be it in the cloud, be it on premises. And even think of the number of cloud services that an organization has. Almost every function within an organization has 3 or 4 different specialized SaaS services or cloud services that are being used. That oftentimes get onboarded outside of traditional IT recommended practices of onboarding vendors and applications. As an example, if I had to today sign up for a Salesforce account, I could just go online to Salesforce and create an account without having to go to IT. The same way, a variety of functions within the organization, be it marketing to use systems such as Market or Eloqua, be it the product management group, starting a Slack, signing up for Slack and starting to use it. There's a variety of these services that can make their way into the organization, and that makes it incredibly hard for IT to stay on top of everything that's going on. And along with the technology, there is some new sets of expectations and user experiences that people and users and employees like you and I expect. One is we want the ability to get our work done from everywhere and anywhere. If IT tells you that no, you can't use a specific type of device for work, your employee or you and I are going to find ways to work around that to suit a work style that matches our requirements, to use devices that we prefer. And there are challenges that IT needs to cope with on that front. The same way, just the same device that we're using for work, we also are using to manage our private lives and share our experiences with the world. So this is where there's a fine line that needs to be drawn between the corporate world and the personal world, and the onus is on IT and the organization to make sure they're not infringing any of the employees' privacy or their private data, even though it tends to reside on the same device that the users are using for both personal and professional users. Now, at the same time, while IT needs to make sure they're not violating user privacy, they also need to take extra steps to ensure that all of the corporate data that's on that user device is secure at all times, irrespective of whatever else may or may not be on that device. So that's an added level of pressure on IT organizations. And some of these impacts, again, beyond just the pressure, is just there's this high pace of change. There is like a much faster cadence than IT has ever been used to in terms of keeping up with app updates, OS updates, managing devices, new features coming out, etc. And all of that has led to much greater complexity than IT has ever faced before. The situation is pretty bad from a lot of organizations' perspective. And it's so bad that 76% of CIOs think that the expanding growing information technology complexity may soon make it impossible to efficiently manage digital transformation and stay ahead of, just generally the trends in the market, the security risks that are increasing, and so on. So this is a very telling stat in terms of how solutions need to be developed to help organizations manage this complexity at scale. Similarly, outside of just the IT complexity is the challenge that users face of being up to speed and just knowing the impacts everyday decisions that they make are having on IT. It's as simple as, again, you might get a link through SMS which says, hey, one of your friends has updated new photos. Click this link to check it out on Facebook. And this is where a lot of users who are unaware are very likely to click on that link without thinking twice, and it could be a phishing attempt that could compromise the user and their organization. So, and some of these stats are, again, very telling, is where 97% of the users are unable to recognize a sophisticated phishing email. And 95% of all attacks targeting enterprise networks are usually successful when spear phishing is used. So this, again, kind of highlights is not only is the adoption of technology creating challenges for IT, but also the levels of education or awareness that the users have is adding additional challenges. And oftentimes, it's not just educating the users that's a solution. There has to be a better technologies in place that IT organizations need to deploy to properly secure the organization in this new world. And that is the mission that Ivanti is on, is that we want to deliver, from a security perspective, zero trust access control, zero sign-on, and state-of-the-art vulnerability management for organizations to help them deal with the complexity of the everywhere workplace. And some of the trends that we're seeing that are really make us see the problem and what we're hearing from customers is that we're fueled by three key ideas, right? One is we want to help organizations better protect against bad actors, against attacks such as ransomware, phishing, credential theft, malware, etc. In addition, we want to help organizations provide their employees with the flexibility to work from anywhere. Just, this is kind of something that employees have been wanting. It's also, is what we've seen over the last year, become incredibly important for organizations to have flexible programs where they can scale depending on things or just, events of nature, where they need to have the flexibility. And also the rise of edge computing, be it on the mobile devices that our employees are using or be it in the cloud. Organizations just need the flexibility in their security infrastructure to be able to adapt to that. And finally, it is the idea of innovation, where there are a variety of innovative technologies that are being developed that can change the way organizations secure their networks right now. And there is a lot around automation, the availability of 5G networks and what that's going to mean for organizations, and then being able to add the advances in AI and artificial intelligence and machine learning to help organizations drive better security decisions. So that's at the highest level, the trends that are fueling us and why we believe that we want to provide solutions in the space for organizations. With that, let's shift our focus to talk a little bit more in depth about zero trust and how we think of the problem and where we have certain solutions that we can provide for organizations. Now, zero trust, and this is one topic that Toshin will go into a little bit deeper, is there is a lot of confusion around zero trust. And the way we see it, zero trust is generally there is a fine line from zero trust being a strategy, where it is a mindset that organizations, and especially security organizations, need to get into, where they need to think about it first as a strategy, identify what's the best application of their strategy, of that zero trust strategy for their particular organization, identify their use cases in which and how zero trust will apply. And once they've made that decision or identified the right strategy for deploying zero trust, then organizations need to switch to the mindset of, okay, now what are the zero trust policies that we need to apply, and what are the then zero trust features, capabilities, and products that will help us apply the policies that we need to drive the zero trust strategy. So while there's a lot to unpack behind zero trust, the biggest recommendation we have is for customers to first identify, think of it as a strategic project, how it will evolve over a specific period of time, and then go down the path of looking for products and services that might fit and map to that journey or the strategy. Now, another thing we caution is a lot of vendors talk about it as being a one-stop shop for zero trust. And in my opinion, there are no vendors that can be the one-stop shop. There is always going to be a mix of different solutions. And you as a customer will have to find what the right fit is for your organization. Now, from Ivanti's perspective, we focus heavily on the end user side of zero trust security. And we provide 3 points in, or 3 starting points for customers who might be on that journey for zero trust. The three entry points that we provide is, one is providing security solutions around the user. The second is providing security solutions around the device itself that the user is using. And finally, the last piece is securing the access or the networks that the user is using. So these are the three different points. And at any point, all of these will have to come together to map up with your other zero trust controls. And we'll talk a little bit more about what it looks like when Ivanti solutions come together to secure the user, the device, and the access through one pane of glass. So at the highest level, when we provide, when we talk about user security, device security, and access security, on the user security front, there are two key aspects that we're looking to eliminate. One is to eliminate passwords. Like we all know that passwords continue to be the top reason for data breaches. It's either an admin's account that was compromised or a machine account that was compromised. Some kind of compromised credential is always essentially, in many ways, the root cause of data breaches. And our goal is to completely eliminate the need for passwords within organizations and provide alternative authentication mechanisms that are stronger, and also at the same time provide a much better user experience than passwords do today. Along those lines, we also realize that eliminating passwords from the enterprise is going to be a long journey because passwords are very deeply embedded in every aspect. It's a fundamental building block of security controls today. And so towards that end, the other aspect that we want to do is where customers cannot immediately replace passwords, we want to help provide additional layers of security using solutions like anti-phishing, so users are less likely to give up their credentials inadvertently as and when they're being attacked with phishing emails and so on. So there's two angles that we're taking to help provide better security for users. And the value that we're looking to deliver to organizations is, one is completely reduce the risk of data breaches. Two is provide a seamless and a better user experience. And this is very critical where passwords are concerned, because between all the security controls that have been put around passwords, the complexity, they're having to change passwords every 60, 90, 180 days, all of those controls put a undue amount of burden on users. And they always try, they are very often, either reusing the same password, forgetting the password, just changing a few digits and, noting it on Post-its and so on. There's a lot of issues that are surrounding just the way passwords are being deployed and used today. And so we want to simplify that user experience by removing passwords completely from the experience. And as a result of it, also drive operational cost benefits by reducing the number of account lockouts that the help desk team has to deal with, the amount of password resets, etc. So we just want to, or hyper-focus and laser-focused on eliminating all of the problems caused by passwords in the enterprise today. The other aspect that we're working on is providing vulnerability lifecycle management solutions for both laptops and mobile devices. So this is being able to identify out-of-date systems and intelligently patch them, both on mobile devices with application updates and OS updates being pushed and scheduled for mobile devices, and the same for laptops and PCs, where we want to be able to provide patches, identify high-priority patches and push them out to devices with AI, and then also being able to identify patches that may not be very stable and be, reduce their deployments until stable patches are available, and automate that entire process around patch management to reduce the number of vulnerabilities on devices that may be exploited by bad actors. And finally, on the zero trust access piece of it, we want to make sure we're providing very granular access control capabilities and providing, per app connectivity based on users' requirements, needs, authorization, and also including in the risk factor of the environment that they might be operating from into the decision-making for access control. And the goal also that we have is, and this is slightly different approach that we're taking from the broader industry, is we want to provide a path of coexistence where a lot of customers have invested very heavily in traditional network security infrastructure like VPNs and so on. And we want to identify ways to help them best leverage those investments and then find a path to zero trust access as opposed to using a rip and replace strategy. So those are, at the highest levels, three key areas that we're focusing on, which is from a user security, a device security, and an access security perspective. And the outcomes that we are hoping to drive are in two buckets. One is for IT. We're hoping to provide them with better architectures and frameworks that will be able to scale to the needs of mobile cloud operating environments. We want to reduce the complexity around passwords being used today, provide consistent patching capabilities at scale that can be applied in an automated fashion across all types of devices, including desktops, PCs, Mac OS machines, Linux machines, and mobile devices, and provide the best amounts of protection that can be provided, that can be deployed within the organization from a user perspective. For business outcomes, the outcomes that we're hoping to drive for is one is overall a improved security posture and compliance across the organization, reduce costs by introducing operational efficiencies across different sectors of the IT team, and then also being able to provide better productivity, both for IT that can be augmented by AI and ML systems, and then also for users that have to deal with less outages, less account lockouts, less time worrying about security, and more time, they have more time getting work done. So at highest level, those are the outcomes that we're driving for. And the key solutions that we have are, there's a wide range of solutions we have on vulnerability lifecycle management. And all of these are can be deployed either as an entire solution end-to-end, or can be deployed as specific features and capabilities to augment your existing patch management solutions that you might have in the organization. So there's a lot of flexibility available. And some of the key use cases that we support are, one is being able to apply patches based on risk scores. And this is where we're crowdsourcing information and identifying if the patches are, when you rolled out a patch to the first 20 users, if there are no issues reported, it then automatically scales that out to the next 100 users versus deploying all of the patches to a entire user base and then having everyone being locked out and so on. So there's some intelligence built in there. There's also the ability to patch third-party applications at scale. So this could be applications such as Java or web browsers that may not be the traditional part of the traditional operating system, and would have the ability to patch them, unlike other solutions that don't do that very well, both from the cloud and from if you have on-premises patch management solutions. On the secure access front, like I said, again, we have a wide variety of solutions that provide the right balance between protecting your investments in traditional networking infrastructure, such as VPN and MAC, and then being able to leverage that as a foundation and then modernize to zero trust access or application level controls that are more in line with the principles of zero trust access. And finally, two key differentiators that we have within the entire stack are focused around zero sign-on, which is our solution to eliminate passwords and provide passwordless multi-factor authentication. We support a wide variety of use cases for authentication across all types of devices and also through types of ownership of the devices. So this could be BYOD devices, could be corporate-owned devices, managed or unmanaged devices. Across all of them, we can provide passwordless multi-factor authentication. And we provide that using a variety of different factors, including biometrics, push notifications, QR codes, OTPs, FIDO, etc. And finally, we also have mobile threat defense, which is a solution that comes embedded with UEM and can provide added levels of security for mobile devices and protect them against phishing attacks, or even identifying vulnerable applications or vulnerable networks that the device might be connected to, and take protective and remediative actions on the device itself. So with that, Ivanti has a broad portfolio of solutions that, we've spoken primarily about the zero trust security solutions, but we also have solutions in the unified endpoint management space and the service management space. And our goal is to provide a layer that called Ivanti neurons, which can take information from all of these three pillars and help organizations drive intelligent decisions and kind of streamline all of the IT operations across onboarding of devices through UEM, securing them through zero trust security, and then servicing them on an ongoing basis through the service management portfolio. And all of that comes together through Ivanti neurons. So that's a overview of how we're thinking about zero trust security. And now I'm going to transition over to Toshin, who's going to talk to us about a little bit more about zero trust in depth and also some of the demos. Take it away, Toshin.
Thanks, Jay. All right, before I go into the demos, right, I wanted to quickly just summarize what Jay mentioned and kind of also add my own flavor to it. I think, Jay was spot on, right? Zero trust is a mindset. It's a long journey, and not one product fits everybody's needs. It's not an end-all, be-all solution that you deploy as a specific vendor product and you are zero trust ready. I think it's kind of a huge undertaking in itself, but some ways in which I think about it is, number one, reduce the attack surface overall, and with every inch of new product that you might add into your enterprise. So if you're thinking about a new assignment or a new project, think about how can the bad actors exploit it? How can they get access to it? How can I reduce the vulnerability on this particular project? Security should not be an afterthought overall, but an integral part of the solution itself. So re-emphasize, who and how does one get access to this particular service that we are launching? And to sum it all up, I think it is easier to understand this from a always verify, never trust kind of a mindset. Every time a user tries to access a resource, we do not implicitly verify that, trust that device or trust that user. We always verify. We try to understand, is there any new change or is there anything new about this particular user or the device, and kind of bring that information to IT, automatically making that decision for them and making this whole process seamless. So while Jay was talking about this, in my head, I was thinking about a very good analogy that we could probably relate to. So if we take the pandemic, for example, we started with putting ourselves in the homes, shutting the shops, shutting everything down within the city. But what we failed to understand back then was, the people who were coming through the airports are still carrying the virus. I think that's a very good analogy for zero trust, is while we implicitly trusted that locking down the city and shutting everything down in the city is going to protect us, we kept that small door open for things to go wrong. And when we soon realized that we had measures taken at the airport in order to make sure everybody who's coming in is tested, is verified. So it's kind of a very similar mindset that IT has to take, right? You're deploying a service, you have to make sure everybody who gets access to that service is always tested, is always verified, is always who they say they are. So that's a simple analogy that I could probably share with my boss to make them understand this. Here, why am I talking about Ivanti being a good place to start your zero trust journey? Is simply because if you look at the broad IT landscape, and maybe this is very much applicable in your own organization, you may have different teams working on different aspects of protecting and securing either the devices or the end users. So here I have the mobile or the desktop team, which is more focused on managing desktops, servers maybe, or managing end user mobile devices, protecting those devices with various configurations, could be encryption, could be just device management settings and other such things. But if you look at the left side, which is the authentication team, this might be an Okta team, which is highly focused on bringing all those thousands of cloud services or in on-prem services, tie them into Okta and provide a seamless authentication for your users. And then to the right, we have the threat security team, or the red team in many cases, who are always thinking about how can we improve the security posture within the organization. If you look at it, one attribute that these all teams are very interested to know about is the device posture. They want to understand, is the device secure? Should we allow this particular device to access this particular resource? And this is why I feel Ivanti is a good place to start thinking about your zero trust journey. Is we have been doing device posture and maintaining that device posture on the device for a very long time. What can device posture include? I think we have all seen this before, but it could simply be the antivirus state. It could be whether the system has been tampered or not. It could be what kind of apps exist on the device. Does the user have any risky apps installed? When was the last time the OS was upgraded? Is the device connected to a secure Wi-Fi or an insecure Wi-Fi? What kind of network threats are available on this particular network? Getting an understanding of all this and building that simple device posture is a huge, complicated task in the back end. But for us to bring this information to you in a simple form, whether to take a very precise decision, has been what we've been doing so far, whether the device should be trusted or not. And this is why I think if you have deployed Ivanti solutions, you may already be familiar with this. And this is very crucial to getting up and running with the zero trust framework. So today, like Jay said, like I said, this is not an end-all be-all list, but what I wanted to kind of talk about is how these different product verticals that we have built are not really just standalone products or features. We are looking at deep integrations between these different verticals, whether it be the threat defense solution, whether it be the passwordless MFA solution, whether it be secure access. The bedrock for all these solutions has been unified endpoint management solution. So our UEM solution helps all these use cases and features to talk to each other and provides a very great integrated experience both to the IT and to end users. So with that, let's take a look at the first one, which is threat defense coupled with our unified endpoint management solution, and try to understand what happens when a user tries to access a risky URL. Here, I have my colleague, James Jr. I've taken this demo from him. He's going to talk to us and explain to us how things work.
One of our competitive differentiators is our on-device threat detection and remediation engine, even if the device is air-gapped and not connected to the internet. There are 45 different device, network, and app-level threats that can be provisioned onto the device. This is ideal if you are using an in-flight airplane Wi-Fi and there's a bad guy doing man-in-the-middle attacks sitting a couple rows behind you. This is called MTD local actions. Next up is the anti-phishing protection engine for our on-device and cloud-based lookup engines, providing several layers of threat protection for iOS and Android devices. I have my Samsung device registered to MobileIron Cloud with MobileIron Threat Defense already activated and protecting the mobile device. We'll go into our Android work profile container and notice that MobileIron Tunnel is installed and running the cloud-based anti-phishing engine. We'll launch Google Chrome and go to the updated OpenFish feed of malicious links. We'll select one of the 5,000 malicious URLs, and you can see the on-device URL handler block the farming attempt and prevent the user from landing on a phishing site. Let's go ahead and close this first session and open Chrome again to the OpenFish feed and select a malicious URL, and this time we'll select Firefox as the browser, and you can see the cloud-based lookup engine blocks the attempt using MobileIron Tunnel.
So what you just saw was how mobile threat defense is protecting the device even when it might be a risky URL on the device itself. There may be simply an air-gapped network. Hackers are getting very creative, where if I have to hack your device, I would first try to win the network that you're on, so that any kind of a SaaS-based solution is not able to get onto the device and try to protect it. That's the reason why we have heavily invested in local remediation of the device, so that if there's no internet connection, or if there is some kind of a man-in-the-middle attack, you're not falling for it. Instead, we'll protect the device on the device itself. There's no reason for you to always keep connected, be connected to our threat center in order for us to take any actions. The next thing is very important, and Jay spoke about, is the significance of passwords and how we are trying to get rid of passwords. So if you look at how our passwordless MFA solution brings great value on managed endpoints, you would see that ease of use coming to life. We have also developed our passwordless MFA solution even for endpoints which are not managed. So if you have a device that may be in a hotel lobby, or maybe you are using it as a personal laptop, you can still use our passwordless experience, and that is completely dependent on IT. If IT thinks that it is important for the CEO to be able to access some corporate resource from a hotel lobby, they could turn that option on. Or if they would always want devices to be managed and have a complete seamless experience, they could have that as well. So it's complete flexibility provided to IT for the use cases that they have in mind. And next, we'll just take a look at how this whole experience looks and feels like with different use cases in mind. So let's talk about the zero sign-on demo.
Using Ivanti's zero sign-on solution, end users have a flawless single-click passwordless experience on managed mobile and managed desktops to access corporate services. As we can see here, the user experience is very similar across platforms. End user simply clicks on the app and is logged in with just a few clicks. To enhance our capability on managed desktops even further, we have added a new passwordless MFA solution capability based on industry standards of FIDO. This also supports desktops managed by Jamf, Ivanti's Mobile Cloud, and Windows devices managed by CCM. Using this new capability, admins can provide MFA capability from the word go, or in this case, when a user simply tries to unlock their Mac or Windows device. The FIDO Agent app can be distributed to managed Mac or Windows devices using the management suite. The end user can simply click on Activate and follow the steps of activation. In a few easy steps, the app is ready to be used. Here, the user logs out of their Mac, and when they try to log back in, they're asked to approve the login attempt on their managed mobile device using biometrics. This enhances the various criteria that the admin is able to evaluate before a user accesses corporate resources. Once the user is authenticated, the user is seamlessly logged into Salesforce and Office 365 using Zero Sign-On. Zero Sign-On can be extended to unmanaged desktops as well. This could be a use case where someone needs to access a service in a hotel or airport using a public computer or a contractor scenario to access a remote machine. In such cases, the user simply uses a QR code option, selects the kind of computer that they are accessing the corporate resource from, that is, if it's a public or a personal computer, and uses their mobile device to scan the QR code to establish their identity. Once authenticated, the user has access to backend solutions. Through Ivanti's HTML5-based VDI access solution, here the user is easily able to access a remote Windows machine using his or her Mac. Keeping the contractor use cases in mind, we've added capability to use the Mobile Go app just as an authenticator. When a user sets up this app, they simply have the option to scan QR codes to have a passwordless zero sign-on experience. In this scenario, a user is trying to access Salesforce and simply scans the QR code to be logged into the service. The wide choice of capabilities using Ivanti's Zero Sign-On solution now allows us to deploy our solution even in cases we are not managing the devices.
All right, so that was interesting. So what are tried to show is the different use cases that you may have. You may have contractors, you may have employees, you may have people who may not have access to their desktops or laptops at the right time. That is where we are bringing more value into this passwordless experience by solving for all these different use cases. And this is how we are really killing passwords one by one with our customers, right? Improving the overall security posture by significant percentage. If you look at how passwords are stolen and what kind of risk an enterprise eventually ends up with when they don't have a passwordless strategy, the risk to reward ratio is simply on our sides. So next, if we talk about the passwordless experience, coming together with the UEM, the Unified Endpoint Management, and the Secure Access Solution. This is where you will see how all these different verticals or use cases come to life together. So in this case, we're going to talk about how you're protecting your end resources through conditional access and how passwordless MFA makes it easier for people who are legitimate or who are policy compliant to get access to that particular resource.
Using Ivanti, we can restrict apps that can be used on a device. In this case, I prefer to use Google Chrome, and my company policy allows me to install Google Chrome on this device. However, my enterprise has only allowed Safari to be used to access corporate data. When I try to access Salesforce or Office 365, I have a customized remediation page which suggests that I should switch to Safari instead. When I switch to Safari browser, context such as device, app, and user identity is established, and I can now use Zero Sign-On to seamlessly authenticate to these services. Let's look at how this is configured. We leverage a strong foundation of UEM and extend this even further via real-time conditional access rules available via Ivanti's mobile access solution, which can evaluate network, device, and apps that a specific request is coming from and helps IT secure corporate data by making a real-time conditional access decision. Here, we have created a simple rule to block Google Chrome browser and provide user with a customized remediation page. Each rule can have a unique customized remediation page. As an admin, we can provide a specific URL that the device should be set to as a remediation page, or I can build a customized page within Mobile Line Access itself, which includes company logo, message, and any help links to help the user get back to a compliant state.
So that is how you could use our technology to work through different use cases of zero trust. At the end of the day, your use cases may be dependent on your risk criteria that you may have identified with other people in your team or with other teams themselves, but these are specifically some vertical integrations that we have made. Now, lastly, and I just want to reiterate, this is not an end-all be-all list. It is just some few use cases that we wanted to talk about today. There's a lot of integration and a lot of work that we are doing with multiple products within the Ivanti suite and even outside with other ecosystem partners. Lastly, what I wanted to quickly bring to you is how all these verticals or how all these products and features are coming together to life for the end user and how this provides a seamless experience and also helps IT protect the device automatically without having to intervene, provides a great IT experience because you're not looking at emails on, hey, I am not able to get access to this device or I'm not able to get access to this resource. All of this is hyper automated for your end users with a lot of self-remediation. So this is where all these pieces come together.
Ivanti's Mobile Threat Defense, Mobile Line Access, and UEM solution work together to deliver strong conditional access capabilities. In this example, a condition on the device triggers an alarm as the device is protected by the Mobile Threat Defense solution. This condition is dispatched to UEM solution, which provides this alert to Mobile Line Access. Mobile and Access solution triggers the session revocation service for this user and logs the user out of their Office 365 sessions. Once the device is back to a stable status, that is reported back to the UEM solution, which forwards that information to Mobile and Access service. Using Zero Sign-On, the user can simply log into the app with one click.
So that is very powerful, right? If you look at what we just showed you in the demo, is from a user's perspective, how they did something which caused the device to fall out of compliance, but they received the steps for them to rectify the issue. And at the end of the day, they get the seamless Zero Sign-On experience, which is just click the app and you are logged in, which really helps them get up and functional in a jiffy. So if that's really something that you really like, I think Zero Sign-On provides a great user experience and has great security benefits. But overall, all these integrated solutions are going to talk to each other and help you deploy a better Zero Trust story within your enterprise. So with that, I'm going to hand it back to Jay, and he's going to take the rest of the session. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Toshin, for walking us through those demos and the variety of different use cases in terms of how Zero Trust can be applied. To wrap it up, I'm just going to talk very briefly again, just some of the key takeaways were essentially one is that keep in mind that Zero Trust is a strategy and a journey first. And then once you've identified what that strategy looks like for your organization, go down the path of thinking of and finding the right Zero Trust products and solutions. From an Ivanti perspective, as far as Zero Trust is concerned and Zero Trust solutions are concerned, we provide controls and capabilities around secure user security, device security, and access security. And from a broader Ivanti perspective, we're focused on helping organizations better manage their devices through unified endpoint management, better secure them using our Zero Trust portfolio, and better service the assets, both user, employees, and device management capabilities through our service management tools. And the ultimate goal is we're trying to bring all of these three functions together using an automation layer called Ivanti Neurons that helps drive intelligence across these specific pillars. As an organization, we have over 45,000 customers, 78 organizations of the Fortune 400, about 8,000 resellers, and have about 40 million devices under management. So there's a lot of experience that we have collectively as an organization, and our goal is to help use that as a foundation to provide better solutions for other organizations in the market. With that, if there's any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat window. And I do appreciate all of you joining and taking the time to connect with us today. Thank you. So one of the questions that's come in talks about what are the specific use cases around Zero Sign-On and passwordless authentication. So there's a variety of use cases that passwords are being used for today. Our focus is to help address the user login. So this is a lot of times where users are logging into services such as cloud applications and so on, especially for those applications that they would access on their mobile devices and laptops. Those are the initial set of use cases that we want to solve for. Now, in addition to just providing passwordless access to cloud services and other SAML-based services, the other aspect is the breadth across which we can support those kind of devices. So there's a lot of nuance to, if a device is a managed device or a unmanaged device, right? So we can apply passwordless authentication in both scenarios. There's also differences based on the platform that's being used, be it Windows, iOS, Android. And even in those scenarios, we can provide passwordless access. So there's a wide range of use cases, and I'd encourage you to connect with an Ivanti representative to, again, understand what your use cases are and for us to make recommendations in terms of what the right approaches would be for deploying passwordless authentication.
And I think, Jay, one important point is also around this is not a switch that you have to turn on for everyone in your organization. You could go from literally from 2 users to 5 to 500. That breadth of deployment is available, so you could try it on specific few users in your trial group and then extend it based on the feedback that you get from your pilot group. So I think that's one point that I wanted to make, so just to give some color to that.
Yeah, that's actually an important piece that you raised there, Toshin, so thanks. Another question, Toshin, and you might be in a better position to answer this, is can this integrate the solutions that we're talking about in, like, I'm assuming it's the question is around passwordless MFA. Would that integrate with on-premises AD?
Our solution for passwordless integrates with on-prem ADFS solution. So if you have an on-prem AD, you could integrate that with an ADFS solution. We have different passwordless methods for on-prem AD itself using for mobile. But if you want to extend the passwordless experience beyond just mobile and even on desktops and to modern services, you would probably require to deploy an ADFS solution or have some kind of a IDP solution in there, which seamlessly makes it happen. So there is difference between the use cases where you may have a legacy service in your backend, which is not capable of using SAML. So those are different use cases which we solve only on mobile and not on desktops, but there are other methodologies to give that zero sign-on experience there. So again, to really sum it up, it depends on the services that you have in mind and how they are authenticating today.
Toshin, an additional question, sort of a follow-on to the previous one, is what IDPs are supported with zero sign-on today?
We support breadth of IDPs, so primarily Okta, ADFS, Ping, there's Secure Cloud. There are many other IDP vendors that we support. So again, it's something that we work with the customers. If there is an IDP that's not on the list, we try to certify it. But these are some of the big names that I can think about right now. And we also have a generic IDP template, which works with most of the IDPs. So if your IDP is not listed with a supported list of IDPs, we can quickly try to certify it with that particular template. So again, it's a breadth of IDPs that we support, but these are the major ones that I can think about right now.
Perfect. There's another question about pricing and packaging, and I would recommend anyone with pricing and packaging concerns or questions to speak with your Ivanti representative. They'd be able to provide you the latest information and how it might tie to existing licenses and bundles you may have already with Ivanti. There's another question on how our solutions compare to other zero trust solutions on the market. And there's a couple of key differentiators the way we've designed our zero trust access architecture. One, like I touched upon, is we're focused on helping organizations migrate from existing and make sure that they can leverage their existing investments in traditional networking infrastructure and use that to apply zero trust access, have a single pane of glass, and through which they can manage both zero trust access and on-premises infrastructure. And also another key differentiator is the way that we use a software-defined perimeter architecture that allows more separation between the data plane and the control plane and gives us a little more scalability as we think about, or as customers think about ZTA and deploying ZTA access solutions. And another key piece, actually I should add this too, is that we have a single client that can go from connecting to cloud services and other on-premises VPN solutions and so on. So that also provides a more streamlined deployment. The approach to deployment is more streamlined, and even the user experience is more unified because the users don't have to think about different agents to activate or make sure they're running as just one agent that does everything on the device. So there are some benefits that we have built into the architecture as we think of ZTA. And the final, I see one more question on ZSO, and maybe Toshin, you can help answer this, is how do these solutions replace, or can Zero Sign-On replace traditional MFA?
Yes, in a way, our solution can replace traditional MFA as well, but you have to look at how you are securing the device. And with respect to the strategy we have always believed in this being device as an identity model, where your identity is your device. So technically, yes, we could easily be an MFA solution, but this solution is more than just an MFA provider. It is also about killing passwords. So if you want to use the solution in that way, you could potentially do that. But at the end of the day, it has more wider use cases that you could probably leverage it for than just MFA.
Well, with that, we're going to bring the session to an end here today. We are at the top of the hour. So once again, thank you everyone for taking the time to join us today on this topic of Zero Trust. And thank you, Toshin, for joining me, and enjoy the rest of your week, everyone. Bye-bye.